He looked up at me slowly, and the expression on his face was something I can only describe as sinister. "Do you ever just drive real slow past a friend's house?" he said, "and just watch them?" We were standing on the main midway of an amusement park, surrounded by people, and I have never felt more alone. Let me tell you how we got there. It was early November of 2024. Cedar Point, the amusement park in Sandusky, Ohio, was wrapping up its season. One of the last operating days before they shut everything down for winter. I'd made the decision pretty spontaneously. I had a 2024 Gold Pass I hadn't used nearly enough, and I thought, why not? I drove 3 hours from my home in Michigan. I'd made that drive plenty of times before. Cedar Point wasn't new to me. What was new was going alone. I'm 24, introverted, and the timing just didn't work out for anyone else. My fiancée was dealing with chronic stomach issues. Rides were off the table for her. Every friend I reached out to was busy, so I made peace with it. No waiting on anyone, no compromising on which coasters to hit, no one else's schedule to work around. Just me, the park, and the rides. I was looking forward to it. I arrived around 3 in the afternoon and went straight to Millennium Force. It's a steel coaster, one of the tallest and fastest in the world. The line was moving. I was in my element. Standing in front of me was a guy roughly my age. Short, bald, clean-shaven, plain hoodie and jeans. He struck up a conversation about the coaster, and honestly, I took the bait. I'm a Cedar Point geek. I probably came across more enthusiastic than I intended. The conversation evolved fast. He told me he was autistic, that he had savant-level intelligence, that he was smarter than most people, and he asked what I thought about that. He asked a lot of questions about me, what I did, where I went to school, where I worked, when my birthday was, roughly where I lived in Michigan. I gave him answers, not my exact town, but within about 20 miles. I was being friendly. At the time, nothing felt alarming. I just got the impression that not many people treated him with much patience or warmth. And I didn't want to be another person who made him feel like he didn't matter. By the time we were nearing the front of the line, he asked if we could ride together. I said yes, and then he asked if we could just stick together for the rest of the day. That's where I tried to draw the line. I told him, genuinely and as kindly as I could, that I'd come to Cedar Point specifically to have my own space, my own pace, that it wasn't about him. I just wanted the day to myself. I should have said I was meeting friends later. I know that now. We got off Millennium Force, and he asked again, "So you're sure you don't want to just stick together?" I said, yes, I was sure. He got quiet. Then, "Is it something I did? Is it because I'm autistic? People always do this to me." I backed off immediately. I consoled him, told him it had nothing to do with him, that he was great, that I was just extremely introverted and had my own plan. He half accepted that, and then asked if we could just do one more ride. Just one more. And I said fine. I want to be clear about something, because this is embarrassing to admit out loud. From this point forward, I had absolutely no backbone. I was people-pleasing, conflict avoidant, and operating almost entirely out of guilt. I'm aware of how dumb and spineless I was. I was aware of it at the time, too. That somehow made it worse. We went to Maverick, stood in line for about an hour. Things were relatively fine. He told me he was gay, and I told him I was engaged to a woman. He asked my thoughts on it. I was honest. I didn't care. Good for him. Politics came up. Turns out he was gay and a devoted Trump supporter, which I found genuinely perplexing, but I didn't push it. We got off Maverick. I started to say goodbye. He asked for one more ride. Same guilt trip, same language about how people always leave him, same paralysis on my end. And just like that, we were walking to Steel Vengeance. In the Steel Vengeance line, he brought up a friend of his, handsome guy, someone he had feelings for. He wanted my take. What would I do if I were in his shoes? I asked if this friend was also gay. He said he wasn't sure. Maybe the guy was straight. I told him if the friend was straight, confessing feelings was going to make things very awkward. He went quiet after that, and it slowly dawned on me. The friend he was describing, the one he wasn't sure about, the one he had unspoken feelings for, the one he was asking a stranger at an amusement park how to approach. I was the friend. I was about 90% sure of it. And suddenly the whole afternoon felt different. We got off Steel Vengeance as the sun was going down. I tried again, firmly this time. I told him it had been great, that I really needed my own time now, that none of this was personal. I meant every word of it. He didn't accept it. He was in full guilt trip mode now, and I was getting uncomfortable in a way that went beyond just annoyance. Something had shifted. I said, let's just walk and I'll think about it, mostly to make the immediate discomfort stop. We were heading back toward the front of the park when he needed to use the restroom. He hesitated outside the entrance. He asked me, multiple times, if I was going to leave while he was in there. Said it had happened to him before. I told him I wouldn't do that. And I meant it. Whatever I thought of how this day had gone, I wasn't going to ditch an autistic person at a bathroom in an amusement park. But I want to be honest. The idea had crossed my mind. He came out, and I had what I thought was a smart solution. I offered to exchange numbers, told him if I was here alone next year, I'd reach out and we could meet up. He agreed. And then, of course, he asked me to text him so he'd have my number too. I couldn't think of a fast enough excuse. So I did it. He had my phone number now. A few minutes later, he asked for my last name. I declined. He got offended, said something like, what did I think he was going to do with it? Did I think he was going to stalk me? I held the line. Just told him I don't give my last name to people I've just met. He dropped it, but he wasn't happy. Then he asked where exactly I lived. I gave the same vague answer I'd given earlier. A city about 30 minutes from my actual town. He pushed for something more specific. Said he traveled through southern Michigan for work and maybe we could meet up. He actually pulled up Google Maps on his phone, zoomed in on his own house, and said, see, now you show me. I didn't. I was running out of patience and running out of calm. I had told him I had to get home, that my fiancée wasn't feeling well and I wanted to be there for her. He half acknowledged that and then asked for one last thing before I left. The power tower. I don't know why I said yes. I genuinely don't. I was exhausted, I was uncomfortable, and something about the whole situation had started to scare me in a way I wasn't fully naming yet. I'd never even been on the power tower before. I'm not sure I even wanted to go on it. But I felt frozen. Like I was on autopilot, moving towards something I had no interest in because I'd lost the ability to stop it. We boarded the ride. As we were ascending, he asked if he was making me uncomfortable. Said he always feels like he makes people uncomfortable, like he pushes people away. And something in me shifted. I decided to be honest with him. Maybe it would get through. I told him the guilt trips, the personal questions on day one with a complete stranger, the pushing and pushing when someone sees they want to be alone. Those things make people uncomfortable. It's not his fault that social cues are hard, but those behaviors are why people pull away. I said it as calmly and plainly as I could. The ride dropped us out of the sky. We got off and walked in silence for a moment. He started to rationalize, quietly, explaining why he still didn't fully understand why people leave. I repeated what I'd said, calmly. He went quiet again. Then he stopped. I stopped too and looked over at him. He looked up at me with a slow, deliberate expression, something behind his eyes that I can only describe as sinister. And he said, "Do you ever just drive real slow past a friend's house and just watch them?" I said, "No, I have never done that." And I kept walking. He backpedaled immediately, tried to frame it as a joke, but the damage was done. I turned to him and said, "Look, this has been great. It was nice to meet you, but I have to go. Bye." And I walked. I kept my body angled toward him as I moved, not fully turning my back, because I wasn't sure what came next. He froze. He didn't follow. I put distance between us, and then I moved fast. I walked the length of that park at a pace just under a jog, looking back every 10 seconds or so, scanning for him in the crowd, waiting to see him coming. He never appeared. I found my car about 20 rows deep into the parking lot, got in, locked the doors. I let out the most exasperated string of words I've probably ever said out loud. Then I called my fiancée. She talked me down. We actually laughed about it by the time I started driving, the way you laugh at something when the adrenaline finally has nowhere else to go. But the paranoia didn't leave when I crossed back into Michigan. It sat with me for weeks, months. I turned over what he had: my first name, my birthday, my phone number, the college I attended, the retail chain I worked for, and a geographic window of roughly 20 miles. Not nothing. And I didn't know whether he had the motivation or the capability and to do anything with it. A year and a half later, I haven't received a single text or call from him. No indication of anything. But I keep a firearm in the apartment now, and part of the reason for that traces back to that evening in Sandusky. I was not smart that day. I know that. I gave away more information than I should have. I stayed far longer than I should have. And I let someone guilt me out of my own boundaries over and over until I was genuinely frightened. Alone, out of state, in a darkened amusement park with a stranger I didn't know how to walk away from. What finally got through to me wasn't logic. It wasn't a firm decision. It was that look on his face when he asked if I ever drive slow past someone's house just to watch them. Some things cut through the politeness faster than everything else combined. I came home with a lesson I hadn't planned to learn that day: that being kind to someone and protecting yourself are not the same thing, and you're allowed to do both at once. That saying no clearly, early, and without a long explanation is not unkind. It's honest. And that guilt is a tool, and some people use it with real precision. I got lucky. I know that too. If you've ever talked yourself out of a gut feeling because you didn't want to seem rude, I think you know exactly what this felt like. Drop a comment and tell me your version of this. I read them. A like helps someone else find this story. And if you want to be here for the next one, subscribe. I'll be back.